Hey guys, so for today's lesson we are on Unit 8, Lesson 10, and we are going to talk about coordinating graphs and how we move from dot graphs to coordinate graphs. In Lesson 8, we used this graph to describe a hike through Death Valley, California. The x-axis represents the trail points. Now we look at the y-axis. These numbers represent elevations in feet. 0 represents sea level. The points with positive elevations are above sea level. The points with negative elevations are below sea level. Each point is connected to a letter, which is the point on the trail, and a number, which is the elevation. Points G, H, and I are below sea level and are shown with negative numbers. We can expand what we know about dot graphs into something called coordinate graphs. In a coordinate graph, the x-axis is the horizontal line, and the y-axis is the vertical line. We can find points on a coordinate graph using pairs of numbers called coordinates. The coordinates for point A are x equals 4 and y equals 6. 4 units. To find this point on the graph, we move to the right 4 units on the x-axis. And then we move up 6 units. We put a point at this location and we'll label this as A. Now let's find the location of point B. The value of x is negative 4. How should we move the coordinate graph when the x is negative 4? Because of the value for x is negative, we move left 4 units on the x-axis. The value of y is 6. How would you move the coordinate graph when y is 6? Because the value for y is positive, we move up 6 units. We'll put a point here and label it as point B. Here is another point, point C. How should you move on the coordinate graph to locate point C? Because the values of x and y are both negative numbers, we move left 3 units and down 3 more. We'll draw the point and label this as point C. We can think about each of these points using the x and y values. We describe a location on the graph by substituting numbers for the variables x and y. For point A, we substituted 4 for x and 6 for y. For point B, we substituted negative 4 for x and 6 for y. For point C, we substituted negative 3 for x and negative 3 for y. Notice when the x is positive, we move to the right on the graph. And when the x is negative, we move to the left. When the y is positive, we move up on the graph. And when the y is negative, we move down. I'm just going to pull up the next quick lesson. Give me 1 sec, guys. Already did that. Next, for the second part of Lesson 10, we're just going to jump into Lesson 11 and talk about coordinate graphs more. The location of a point on the graph is described using an ordered pair. The coordinates for a point, x and y, are made up of 2 numbers, which we talked about at the end of Lesson 10 just now. The first number is the x, and the second number is the y coordinate. The place where the x and y axis cross has the coordinates 0, 0. This is called the origin. And this will be the same on every coordinate graph you look at. Let's locate point A on our coordinate graph. How do we move on the coordinate graph to locate the point? First, we go right 2 units on the x-axis because we have a positive 2. And then we go up 5 units. Now we are at point A. For point A, our coordinate is 2 and our x-coordinate is 2 and our y-coordinate is 5. Coordinate graphs are divided into 4 sections called quadrants. They're represented with Roman numerals, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. We label each quadrant with a Roman numeral. This is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Let's look at the points in each quadrant. For point A, the x-coordinate is 2 and the y-coordinate is 5. This point is in quadrant 1. We write the point this way, parentheses 2, 5. Point B has an x-coordinate of -6 and a y-coordinate of 1. This point is in quadrant 2, and we write it this way. Let's look at another point, point C. The x-coordinate is -4, and the y-coordinate is -3. This point is in quadrant 3. And that's how we write that point. We're just not going to go through D. You guys get the point. Look at quadrant 1. How would you describe the coordinates of any point in this quadrant? Just like point A, all of the points in quadrant 1 have a positive x and a positive y. Quadrant 2, how would you describe the coordinates of any point in this quadrant? Every point in quadrant 2 has a negative x and a positive y, and so on and so forth in each quadrant. We're not going to go through the rest of the lesson, guys. Just do the VMath that is assigned and email Mrs. Peglow and I if you have any questions. Thank you.